Hello and welcome to an audience with Lizzy Yarnold. Lizzy was a student here at the University of Gloucestershire, and in the last 8 years she's knocked up an incredible series of firsts. Of course, following her very recent success at the Winter Olympics at Pyongyang, she is very, very much in demand, so we're really delighted that she can fit us into her busy schedule. Joining me for this conversation are two of our students here at the university. Ben Tierney is a second-year sports journalism student, and Natalie Turner is a second-year journalism student. Let's have a very big round of applause, please, for Lizzy Yarnold. Lizzy, welcome. We can now add to what we've just seen on that video your second gold medal, making you Britain's most decorated ever Winter Olympian, and I believe skeleton's most successful ever athlete. So what an achievement.
Thank you.
I'm imagining that when you were a little girl at school or even a more senior student at school in Kent, for you, a skeleton was something that you saw in your science class. When did you discover it was actually a sport?
It was so old in sport terms. It wasn't until I was 18. So I loved every single sport when I was growing up. I think I was one of 3 girls, so the middle child. The second child always tends to be the sporty one, apparently. So good for some of you, and some of you thinking, oh. So when we were growing up, we had a house where the garden went around it. So when it was dinner time, Mum would say, you need to run around the house the amount of times you are old. So my older sister would have one more time to run around than me. And we had this lavender plants that would grow in the summer and create more of a hurdle. So I'd run around and try and hurdle the lavender plant every time. So it was very much a part of our lifestyle. So yeah, I loved sport, I loved athletics and everything, and I'd not heard of the sport of skeleton until I was 18.
Amazing. But when you were at school sports day, were you the person who won everything and wanted to win everything and had to win everything?
Yes, I was I loved sport. I mean, it wasn't just the sort of the usual sports. I loved cricket and athletics especially. So apparently my mum tells this story where I used to do the 800 metres and I'd run along with everyone else for the 3 laps because it's a little 200 metre track on the grass. And on the last lap, after like cheering people on, I'd say, I'm really sorry, I'm going to leave you now, but I'll see you at the end. And I'd sprint around the last lap. Like, I'm terrible at 800 metres now. It was very much something that I was good at as a child, but I did love the winning aspect. I was very much of the camp of it's important to know how to win, and it's also very important to know how to fail. And whatever that looks like for you, that was certainly a lesson that I learned at a very young age.
Now, we know that you were inspired by Denise Lewis to get into heptathlon, and you were doing that for a while, successful athlete, and then you joined the Girls for Gold talent scouting event, it's being called by various people. What was it about you that made skeleton seem to be the thing?
It was a complete fluke, to be honest. My sister Katie applied for the same talent search through UK Sport 2 years beforehand. So that was called Tall and Talented, and you had to be 6 foot. That counted me out, which was really irritating because I was the sporty sister. Like, why is she the one who's been selected? So then 2 years later, in 2008, it was called Girls for Gold. And they were looking for any athlete between 18 and 25 of national level standard in any sport. Just go along and do the testing. So it was height, weight, arm span, height, weight, arm span, sprint speed, sort of capacity testing on the bike, and a couple of others that I can't remember. But they were basically getting your physical information for 7 different Olympic sports. And I think there was some water sports, so it could have been something kind of, I don't know, some kind of sailing event. There was modern pentathlon, there were some others, hockey maybe, but it was definitely the modern pentathlon that I had my eye set on. I didn't know the others. I didn't know what skeleton was on the list. I ignored that. So on the form I wrote, yeah, I'm really good at running, I'm really good at swimming, you know, I'm really good at riding. I made that up, but I just wanted to, I knew that there was an opportunity there, and I thought I'm just going to go for it and see if they will select me. I knew that I could be good at a sport. I just needed to find the right one.
And boy, did you do that. So in a bit, the others are going to ask you more about sport and how you train and everything else.
Yeah.
Because you're back at your old university,
Yeah.
I must ask you. So you studied geography and sport and exercise science.
Yeah.
You graduated in 2011. Were you a good student? Did you like academic programme?
You have to ask the lecturers that, because I feel like no student can. Yeah. I did love the lectures. I'm not sure whether I understood many of them. So I was never very academic, but I loved the aspect of sports science that was the psychology of competition and more the human sport side of it. And then in geography as well, it was more the crime and human behaviour, you know, where we live in city centres and how our interaction with each other works. So it was much more about the person in both aspects. Yeah, I really loved studying here, especially because it was at both Gloucester and Cheltenham, so the 94 bus was my bus.
The 94
I
bus.
know.
Lots of people in the audience know all about that.
Yeah, I think it was 50p when I first.
I
know it's gone up a lot.
And of course, in 2014, we gave you an honorary degree. We've got a picture of you, I think, getting your honorary doctorate. So I should be calling you Dr. Yarnold. How did that feel, coming back and getting your honorary degree and wearing the big gown and everything?
Just getting the invitation to come back was really kind. It's always lovely to come back to a place where I have such fond memories. You know, I remember my first day at university at FCH campus and how overwhelming it was, and, you know, try and find one friend and then another friend, and I was just, you know, becoming the person that I am. And then to be able to come back and, you know, for someone to put that gown on your shoulders is a really big moment. My husband has a PhD in engineering. You know, I feel a bit naughty that I have it, but I earned it. So yeah, it was really, really exciting and a lovely day. I felt very privileged.
Yeah, I was just going to start really with you're a double Olympic gold medalist in skeleton, hurtling down the mountain at 80, 90 miles an hour. So when does that stop becoming terrifying? I try and answer it honestly. But it took me at least 2-3 years to stop being scared. I think because the sport that I do, it's a bit like motorsport racing. There are multiple tracks all around the world. So when I started the sport, there was an acceptance of having to go down for the first time at Altenburg, which is petrifying. And people would say, oh, you're going to Whistler, oh, that's terrifying. And then, oh, you go to... And so every week was just a complete kind of self-doubt and fear. And so I went down the track, and you kind of make these notes, and I've got these really old diaries of, yeah, I think it was okay, and I've got no idea. I tried to count the corners. And then, once I'd learnt them all and been down, you know, of course there was a sense of achievement. And then you go back the next year for the competition, and it's as petrifying as the first time you go down. So, I mean, the track itself, I try and explain a bit. It's a bit like a water flume, but a mile long. So it exists in concrete all year round. And then when it gets cold enough, they spray water onto the concrete, so it builds up enough ice. And then what they do to kind of shape the ice is use a massive razor and just kind of shape it and shave it back. So even though the concrete structure is the same, the way that the ice can be shaved and manipulated is very different each year. So we do these track walks. So we have little crampons on our shoes and walk down the track and look. And, you know, literally we're lying on, it's very kind of geeky, but looking at the different ice profiles to try and learn and sort of be more analytical about it and take the fear away to remember, okay, I've done this track before, I've got some notes, I know what will happen to me, I know how it will feel, and try and sort of make sense of it. But I still am scared every time I go down. You know, the changing rooms are silent on the first day, and everyone's glad that we've survived. And then, yeah. And I wanted to take you back to Pyeongchang earlier on in the year. As the clock's counting down to your run to defend your gold medal from Sochi, what's going through your mind?
Oh, so it's four. We have 4 runs over 2 days. So I guess I go through many thoughts through those 4 runs. I guess the thoughts for the first run were very much about the process of preparation. So we only have 1 minute down the run. That's your sort of one go. But we do an hour and a half of warm-up and physical readiness. Because when I'm stood on the start block, I have to create my own speed, my own velocity. I'm going from nothing. So you have to warm up like a sprinter would, and then cover up, keep the warmth inside you so that when you step out to -20, you're trying to keep the muscles as hot as possible. So the hour and a half is kind of like, do some warming up, okay, sit down, go through the notes, remember what on earth I'm doing, do some more warming up, sit down, have something to eat, do some more warming up, change, and changing sounds really simple, but because I've had my jacket and salopettes on to try and keep the warmth in the muscles, obviously stripping back off to your skeleton suit is a situation that you want to do it very quickly and swiftly and efficiently to keep the warmth in. So it's very systematic and non-emotional. But by the time I came to the 4th run, it was all a bit strange because I only had 200ths of a second to find to beat Janine Flock, the Austrian athlete. So at that point, the game was on. It was serious. So I think I just listened to music and had some food and just.
And I was going to ask you, do you have any specific rituals in the hours leading up, or any specific music tracks you listen to?
I love grime music. And I love folk music. So it's like, I'm not split personality, but... So I think when I'm warming up, I love skipping. So whatever I do to do exercise, I find the music that matches the beat of my heart or the skipping, so that keeps me going and keeps me... I find like grime music and that kind of music is very aspirational. So I find a lot of inspiration from that. And then the whole folk thing, like before the 4th run when I was trying to be more calm and relaxed, I just sort of was sitting there with my music on, having a great time in the changing room.
And with skeleton, it's sort of a sport defined by milliseconds. So as you're on the run, do you know this is a good run or this could be a course record or something like that? Do you have time to think about
that? There's one track in Austria, Eagles it's called, and that will begin to turn the sled as well. So that's a real finite steering system. But my favourite is the old toe steer. It's my brake. So because it's so far at the back of the sled, if I drop a toe or even drag a toe, that will then turn the sled quite aggressively one way or the other. So with all that going on, it's difficult to think, is this a good run, is this a bad run? I guess the way is obvious is, have I hit a wall? Which I still tend to do. And equally, when you hit a wall, you might have seen they love the slow motion camera at the Olympics, and you can see the athlete almost deform as they come out of the saddle. But because I'm 75 kilos, that's a lot of weight to hit the wall. So when I'm going to hit the wall on the left, I almost try and hug the wall, so I'm not resisting it or moving away from it. So it taps me, and I give it a little love hug, and It's a really difficult thing to know whether you're going good or bad, but hits on the wall, if the steers are right, going around the course. And you can actually feel some sort of the air pressure on your shoulders. Where I'm tucked down, this is the first thing that hits the air coming towards me. So similar to having your hand out of the car window, you can feel, the pressure against you. This is faster, this is slower. So I can kind of feel and hear almost the whistle of the wind over my shoulders. And then the clock at the end, that's short.
And at the Winter Olympics this year, you're obviously the flag bearer. Does that mean you got a chance to sort of go around and watch some other events when your events wasn't on, and did anything take your fancy in particular?
Flag bearing doesn't give you any access to anything. Let me just make that clear. So after the event, I had to watch Penny and Nick. So they do the ice dance event. So that was in my head. After Sochi, I didn't really get to watch much. I didn't sort of plan ahead to get tickets. So this time I thought, okay, I'm going to buy some tickets and go and watch them. And it was much more emotional watching them compete than it was competing myself, because I was stood there waving the flag and really shouting for them, because I'm just so proud of them. But when I was doing the skeleton, it's come on, you're doing your job, so focus.
And looking forward to 2022 in Beijing. Is that something you're looking at just yet, or you're non-committal?
I didn't check your questions before. I would have taken that off. My only retort is, do you know what you're doing on the 14th of February 2022?
Probably not, no.
Okay. I don't either. So it's very easy to jump. If you're successful in whatever you do, it's very easy to jump to the next big thing because that's where you feel you're positioned. But actually, we live in a world of goal setting and very simple goals of going to the gym, eating the right things. What's your next competition? Where are the next World Championships? So I have lots of things in my head for the next year, and then we focus on the next year, and then somehow you magically end up at the next Olympics. So I can only answer that in about 3 years' time.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, your weekly training schedule. I mean, I'm really eager to know, as I'm sure everybody here would be. What do you do, like, in the gym? How many times a week do you train? What's the schedule?
Okay. So do you want to know about winter or summer first? It's a bit different to each other.
We'll go with the winter.
Go with the winter, okay.
Yeah.
So when we're away on the circuit, or it's just a week in, week out, never-ending lifestyle. So I tend to arrive at a new track on a Monday. So arrive, find the hire car, drive to the place. You're exhausted and thirsty and, just need a shower. But then I've got to unpack everything because the next day I'm going to be track walking and looking at the ice and training, sliding on the track. So the crazy unpack is everything just kind of explodes in the room. Then my sliding bag is sort of quickly, because I need to remember, crash helmet, sliding suit, notepad, padding. So the all important carpet, I call it like camping mat, or plastic bottles also is quite good because they're firm. So anything you can find that protects you when you're going down the track. Water bottles, everything goes in the sliding bag, so that's the most essential thing. Then we'll go to the track on the Tuesday and have a look at the ice, see whether it's snowing, whether it's very humid, all of these natural conditions that can have an impact on how fast the track is going to be. And then, we start sliding. So it's 2 runs a day for the Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So 2 minutes practice each day, that's it. That's all you're allowed. I tend to have a go on the track and then write my notes and try and watch other people as well, because it's a game of failing and failing and failing personally, but then watching other people go around the track and, that worked, or that didn't work, that worked, that didn't work, and then going back to your notes in the evening. And lots of gym work as well, even in the winter. So we do lots of Olympic lifting and sprinting. So each day will be sliding session, come back for lunch, have a nap every day, and then another session in the gym, and then kind of repeat for the second day, repeat for the third day. And then we compete usually on the Friday, the men compete on the Saturday, pack up, go to somewhere else on the Monday. So it's really, really full on. So the hardest thing with the 8 World Cup races in the winter is being able to reset if I've had a bad result on one track, because literally the next day I've turned up somewhere else, having to repack the sliding bag and just go again.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there anything you particularly dread, with your training? Like when you get up in the morning, is there anything you think,
Most things, yeah. Gym training is hard. I didn't say about summer training. So the summer stuff is where I struggle the most. So at the moment we're doing all the physical testing to see how we are sprinting wise, lifting wise, to get a basic numbers to the start of the summer. And then it's all about over the months, May, June, July, all the way to October, is getting stronger and faster. So just lifting and shifting more weight around the gym, which is really irritating because I go into the gym, I just lift weight and put it down, lift weight and put it down. There's no point to this. But, it's all about just making sure my lower body, my legs, are as powerful as possible for the sprint start, for the push.
So with all this weightlifting, I should imagine you've got to carb up quite regularly. I mean, what's your diet? Could you talk us through that?
Yeah, so we're not so much carbs because we're a power sport. It's more the proteins to replenish the damaged muscles. And as well, if you think of Mo Farah, I'm the complete opposite end of the spectrum to him in many ways. But he will run for hours and hours and hours and push himself. and he will need the carbs to replenish the energy. Whereas I'm very much, I will lift in the leg press maybe 550 kilos for 3 reps and do that a couple of times, and then move on to the next power exercise, do 3 reps, and then you finish your session. Is much more important to replenish the vitamins as well as the proteins, because putting your body under so much stress, you've got to make sure that you've got your vitamin D up, your vitamin C and everything that you need.
When you've finished an Olympic game or when you've finished a training session, when you come home, has your husband got like a meal ready for you? Is he good like that?
He is good. Yeah, most days he's the chef.
Oh,
yeah,
lucky.
Yeah, it's Hello Fresh, to be fair. I love Hello Fresh. I don't know anyone else, but it's very helpful. Yeah, so when I come back, that's so great about just coming back to the UK and reading the paper and having some normality to life. Having dinner at home is always appreciated.
Guilty pleasure?
I have many, and I'm always reluctant to... What specifically do you want to know?
Well, we're talking about food. We'll talk about food.
I bite my nails a lot. That's my worst. But food-wise, I think it's... So the other day, I got back from training, and I was sitting in the house, and I found a tub of ice cream in the freezer, and I put some in a bowl, and I thought, I'll just have this much. But the pot of ice cream didn't quite go back in the freezer. And so I sat there, I finished the bowl, found the pot, and I was just eating. And I looked up, and James, my husband, was just walking up the path from the shed, and I was like, oh, no. So
caught in the act.
The issue is being found when you're eating a pot of ice cream. I needed that ice cream.
Your husband, he designs your sled. Is there any other altercations or arguments about how the design should be?
So he did his PhD developing the sled with his colleague Rachel, which was back in 2006. So he now works with Ben Ainsley for the America's Cup sailing team. So he hasn't worked with skeleton for years. But when we worked together, we weren't actually together. So I didn't tend to have argument. But now the argument tends to be if someone says, is your success down to the athlete or the sled?
And your answer?
Yeah. I say no more. I don't.
Fair enough. You said something earlier about, actually you said it in a BBC interview, that you enjoy failure. You enjoy getting things wrong because it fires you up for the next competition. How do you use how do you use failure as your strength? Like when so many people would let failure get them down. I mean, how do you?
Yeah. Well, I guess failure and success are only decided by you. I mean, for me, failure and success isn't first or last. It's just how you got on that day. So in the sport of skeleton, when you go into a corner, if it's a short corner, you'll go in and you'll rise up. And as you rise, you run out of speed, so you drop. So it's a bit like it's centrifugal force. If you've got a ball in a sock and you spin it, it will rise. If you spin it more slowly, it will fall. So you rise and you fall in a corner, and that's perfect, that's easy. If it's a longer corner, you'll then have this added physics of rising, falling, and then, there's more space, so I rise again, I fall again. I'm hoping that I'm going to fall at the exit of the corner, and that's all perfect. But what happens if someone's worked out, I can flatten that completely. I don't want to loop up and down. I want to go the shortest distance, just make it completely flat. But what if I go flat at the start and then loopy at the end, or loopy at the start and flat at the... it's just so many different equations of how on earth you can get around one corner on a track. So I really, it's a basic kind of principle of the sport is that I must fail and push myself to try different things to actually then go back and calculate, oh, actually that one worked, that was quite good, but I'll forget that other one, that was useless. So each day it's definitely a process of making sure I fail and being very open to criticism as well, which was challenging learning a sport when I was 18 because, as an adult, I know what I'm doing and, you don't need to tell me, and that, that attitude you have, it's different than learning a sport as a child. But I think I was kind of open to the criticism, and I was very open to whatever the coach was telling me and taking that advice on. So yeah, I just think I've probably just learned over the years that it's definitely beneficial to keep failing, because then as well the success is so much sweeter, and I love celebrating the success as well. Sometimes when we're successful, it's like, oh, that was great that day, I'm just going to move on. and I've forgotten about what was great and what I did really well. So the success could be just getting that corner right and exiting and feeling great, feeling the wind over my shoulders. It's not always about winning a race, just getting that one thing right.
I wanted to talk a little bit about injuries and setbacks. Obviously, you had knee surgery this year, so what's the recovery for that been like?
It's not been too bad, actually. So I just had a little I've never had an operation before, so I was a bit nervous. And I had a very strange genetic condition where I had a tumour growing in my knee. So that's all out. And he said he did the scar like a Cornish pasty. so it's not like joined like this, it's more like that. So it looks quite sweet. So I always think of my Cornish pasty scar.
And do you have any targets to sort of get back into action? Are you training now?
I am. I'm busy doing loads of rehab. So it's, I mean, when I say rehab, I'm in the gym doing some stuff, but because we're physically and mentally pushing ourselves to the limit, you know, every day in the gym, it's, the coaches are chucking on another 25 kilos to lift on the leg press. It seems to never stop. Like, there's never a point where they're like, oh, yeah, don't worry, that's enough. Like, so physically, it's quite exhausting. So at the moment, lots of athletes will be coming back and doing all the basic things, you know, making sure the core is connected and working, making sure all the basic movement patterning is right. So the world of an Olympic athlete is actually doing lots of the basic things well, the basic nutrition, the basic training, and everything like that.
And after Sochi, you sort of had to take a sabbatical because you had issues with dizziness and things like that. Was that probably the biggest issue you faced in your career?
Yeah, I took a break, I think, because I'd finished Sochi, won my first Olympic medal, and then I was like, oh, do I stop? Am I meant to stop now? Is that like the thing on a high, you know? But luckily, I hadn't yet become world champion and European champion. So quite quickly, it was, okay, that's my next big thing. That's my goal. I'm going to get straight back in the gym and progress to that. So then after the World Championship, with the gold helmet, I think you might have seen in the video, internally, actually, I was struggling quite a lot with motivation, and I was crying a lot of the time, and I'd often sit on the floor in the changing room before the races and sort of talk myself into, okay, you've got this race coming up, it's just 2 minutes, it'll be fine, just get motivated, you know, we'll get through this, come on now, get warm, race. And I thought, why am I having to motivate myself for a race? You know, it was just after 5 years of pushing myself every single day in the gym, expecting the best of myself, failure or success on the track. I was totally worn out. So I got my crash helmet painted gold so that externally everyone believed that that was my intention, and they believed in my confidence, even though inside I felt quite different to that.
Yeah, and you touched on it a bit there, but is the motivation the same now, 2 gold medals later? You still sort of get up with the same, I want to be successful, that sort of thing?
Yes, because it's although the medals represent 9 years of hard work, it was very much that even when I did the Girls for Gold, I wanted to see how good I could be at the sport. That didn't then end at Olympic medals. It's something that can transcend any result you have. So I think self-betterment and challenging yourself, pushing yourself is something I'll hopefully always aim to do. So the medals haven't stopped me. Maybe it should, but yeah, different.
The rumour is you like knitting.
I do.
You do.
I'm really bad at it though. I can only do strips. Okay. I don't know if anyone else knit. I can just do a strip and then I have to stop because it gets really long. What do I do with that?
Wrap it round your head lots
of
times.
Scarf.
So what do you like to do in your downtime?
Oh, downtime. I don't know. I think read probably. Yeah.
I also read on your profile that you like to watch the Archers, listen to the Archers.
I do like the Archers.
That's so old school.
Is it? I think quite a lot of people listen to it. No, not you. You're not a fan.
Not me personally.
Oh, you're missing out.
I do.
Yeah, when you meet someone who also listens to the Archers, it's like
we'll do it later on.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe what is going on.
would you ever do, like, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or Dancing on Ice, or any commercial sort of TV show?
I don't know. I haven't been asked, so I couldn't kind of give an answer. I don't know. Oh God, I don't know. Would you? I don't know.
Ice skate.
Yeah, I can't. I'm the whole grip at the side person. So
yeah, me too.
I think there's a problem there. I can't ice skate. But the whole I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is quite exciting. Like, you know, I like the fact that you can get to know people and get to know them as humans instead of that person off EastEnders or yeah.
So you say you can't ice skate. Is there any other winter sports that you do try? You know, like skiing, snowboarding, or...
I love to ski. I'm not meant to say that.
Oh,
sorry. Don't watch this. I'm going to grab some more water. Is that okay, guys? Can I get some more water, please? Is that okay? A bottle will be grand.
So you're banned from skiing, are you?
Yeah, we're banned from skiing. Thank you so much. I was talking, great. Yeah, I love to ski, and I think that's when I first realised my love of speed. And I don't know if anyone else skis here. A couple of you, maybe. Well, the feeling of being at the top of a black run is basically the same as being at the top of the skeleton, because when you go to a piece that you've never done before, you're stood there, obviously, you know, what on earth am I faced with? How do I get down? You can't read the course, you can't see the turns, you can't see where your next step is. And once you start turning and then relax into it, it's manageable. And that's very much like the skeleton. Your first go, obviously you don't believe that you can ever get down there. And once you do it once, you think, okay, that corner I think I can do a bit better and improve a bit. But yeah, I love watching the winter games, you know, the whole big air thing, and they are so cool, and they have these really long jackets and they sort of walk around, and I try and be their friend and like be cool like them.
So I was going to say, are you worried about what you say in the media? Like, obviously, you know, you want to say your opinion and your views on things.
Yeah.
But do you ever panic, like, oh, I've just said, like, for example, just then you've said you like skiing.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or maybe...
Yeah, I think with the world of social media and its immediacy, there always needs to be the moment of having a message and maybe saving it in drafts and coming back to it an hour or two later. But I have been very eager to make my opinion known on, for example, the Russian doping situation and their CAS ruling. And it's a very long and involved process over the past few years. But being an athlete that competed at the Sochi Olympics, it was very emotional and upsetting to hear about everything that went on. So I didn't say anything for about a year and actually regretted not speaking up. So,
good for you.
Yeah, well, I sometimes then you are made a figurehead and push forward, but I think as long as you're honest and to yourself, and
that's all you can do.
That's all you can do, and you won't regret it in the future.
So fame and fortune, how has that been for you? How have you dealt with that? Has it been like a crazy experience? Have you enjoyed it? What's your favourite part about it?
Probably my lovely neighbours are the best part, because they're so sweet and supportive. They always take my bins out when I'm not there. And I love my neighbours.
Oh.
So because they kind of know, because they kind of watch me on Twitter, so they might know that I'm not at home that week or I'm around the world. So they're lovely. So I guess it's just that I'm now able to get my message across and the sport of skeleton to so many more people because of the platform I've been given at the Olympics.
I was going to say, I mean, what would your message be to the younger generation, like for more girls to take part in sport, you know, to be a strong role model for them? What would your message be to them?
I think my message to anyone, and it's not just girls, it can be, you know, any age, anyone, is to just try different sports. You know, I'm an example of loving sport, not knowing which sport was the one for me, but just trying different things and remembering that the joy and fun of sport and exercise. And it's meant to be, I do park run now, and I wouldn't honestly get round it without the people clapping, and I always thank them for clapping because it really helps me. So yeah, my advice is just, you know, try different sports, try different things, and exercise is actually very good for your mental health as well, so keep staying fit and healthy.
So when you were younger, what did you want to be originally? I bet you didn't want to be a skeleton
No.
Olympian.
I wanted to be an Olympian, probably in the heptathlon, like we said about Denise Lewis. You know, she caught me at the age when I was watching the games, and I saw her, it was the javelin, so she had like a one-armed leotard thing. This arm was bare, and this arm had the suit and the javelin, and she just looked like the powerful woman. She's just, you know, totally under control and, yeah, empowered, and that's who I wanted to be. I wish I was good enough to have done that, to do javelin in the Olympics, but yeah, I have seen her since I won in Sochi, so it's nice to be able to.
Oh, you have met?
Yeah, I've met
Did she
her.
know
Yeah,
that she was your inspiration?
yeah,
You told
yeah,
her?
yeah. And Goldie Sayers actually as well, another javelin thrower, but she came to my school. And she was wearing the Olympic suit, so the suit that you wear for the formal occasions. And in the pin stripe of the pinstripe suit, it said 2004 Athens Olympic Games, 2004 Athens Olympic Games. And so I just thought, if they put that much energy and attention and love into a suit, like, imagine what they can do for you as an athlete. So it was great to meet her in person and again see that she was real.
I was going to say, I mean, being an Olympian, I bet you've met some amazing people.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anybody that you thought, wow, like you were lost for words when you met them or saw them? You almost got like, you know.
I'm going to need some audience participation because I can never remember their name. Okay.
We're going to start asking the audience questions as well, so they
Is
can
it
help you with
50,
this one.
Yeah, cool.
Give them a clue.
Phone friend. Okay. He's a cricketer. He's from India. Actually, I've just remembered, but we'll see whether someone else gets it. It's about fifth. Huh? It was Sachin, yeah. Should we share the £1 million? We won, yeah. So Sachin Tendulkar, and I was very kindly invited to the Wimbledon middle Saturday, which seems to be like the sports person's day. And you're given lunch beforehand, so you arrive, the two of you arrive, and welcome, yeah, very nice of you to come. And they find you a table, and you don't know where you're going to sit. It's not an organised seating arrangement, it's just who's got a spare seat. So you sit down. So me and James sat down, and there was a man, woman, and I'm there like, I don't know who's the sports person and who's the normal person, like who's the other half. So I just like, oh, hello, forgot all their names. And I saw that someone had a wristband, and it said, the Broad Appeal. Okay, I think that's, I'm like racking, I'm like, Stuart Broad, okay, athlete. Next person must be another half. Okay, and then there was two left, and I didn't work it out. They were talking a lot about cricket, which I don't know anything really about, but then we left, and I said to him, who was that man? He said, Sachin Tendulkar. So yeah, he was really, really nice and kind, so yeah.
Oh, so you probably didn't know anything about skeletons. No. So okay, so this is our opportunity to ask, for you to put your questions to Lizzy. We've got some microphones, so if you'd like to ask a question, please put your hand up so we can get a microphone to you. So who would like to start? Over there.
Hi.
You're a student at the university. Where did you live?
I lived 131 Brunswick Street. I could probably remember the postcode.
Was it nice?
Yeah, it was really good. I lived there for a couple of years. I wish I'd been able to stay longer, but we were all based in Bath as the skeleton athletes. So, yeah, I love living in Cheltenham and, you know, walking through the town. And I passed my theory driving test here. And as a treat, I went to, what's the Wok place? It's like Wok and...
Bar and Wok.
I went to Bar and Wok for, treat myself, so pass. Apparently, it's still really good.
You should give them a signed photograph. They can
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, down here.
Hi, Lizzy.
Hi.
So from all your success, which one means the most?
Oh, that's the tough. I think it would have to be the Pyeongchang Olympic medal, because I was having this knee issue for about a year beforehand, and then we arrived at the Olympics, and it was so cold and dusty, very windy there. I got a chest infection, but I didn't know it was a chest infection until the second day of competition. And the doctor, I just said to him, I can't breathe. I'm really struggling to breathe. And he listened to my chest for the first time in a week, when every day I'd be going in saying, I feel ill, I feel ill, I feel ill. And he just sat back and he just went, I was like, do you want me to come back later? He just went, you're really ill, but there's nothing we can do for you now. So because it was an infection, the drugs wouldn't have kicked in, you know, within 9 hours. So he said, it's going to hurt, it's going to be painful, but you can do it. So, okay, I can do it. So yeah, I think it's just that, because, you know, the people that support you, you know, it's just me on the screen and going down the track, but there are my sliding coaches, the strength and conditioning coaches, the nutritionists, psychologists, physiotherapists, doctors, my teammates, my parents. So it's a team effort.
Okay, let's have a question from over this side.
Talked about the psychology of competition. Does anyone intimidate you on the circuit, and how do you get around that in your own head?
Yeah, I know the person straight away. She's very loud. She's very loud, and in your face she knows that she's there, everyone knows she's there. So when we were in the changing room, there were 2 changing rooms. We were the Brits, the Koreans, the Austrians and the Americans. So the Americans were very insular to start with. They were just kind of changing with the coaches facing each other. And as through the week, when me and Laura started to be quite good, they would then just start to turn and get changed, like watching us. It was really odd. And we had these like survival trousers, these big silver things to keep us warm and to warm up with. And Laura had done some training upstairs in the sprint track, and she came down. I could hear her along the corridor. She always has these sound cancelling things. She's walking along. I could hear her. She's going, kush, 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 kush. So it stormed into the change room and sat down. And then I had to get up to skip and take them off. So I stood up and went, kush, 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 and just took them off. So audio-wise, you know, we were just recontrolling the room, and not on purpose, just, you know, those people that wind you up, you just got to do it. You've got to do it the British way and do it a bit better.
Okay, there's one down here.
What was the point in your career when you went from realising you're actually quite good at skeleton to being capable of winning an Olympic gold medal?
I didn't realise I was capable of winning a medal until the day. I think, you know, you always have this ambition, and people tell you to say, I want to win a gold medal. You know, that's my dream, that's my ambition. But really, I just wanted, you know, I'm just doing this sport. I love it. I just wanted to be a bit better every day. That was, of course, the dream, but sometimes it's a bit scary to say that. So it was a couple of years in to the sport in 2012 at my first senior world championships. Because you never, if there are separate circuits, you never know how well you're doing if you're only against this section of the population of the sport. So I was against everyone, and I managed to come third. So that was definitely like the moment when I thought, yeah, you know what, I can do it. And more importantly, in 4th place was Shelley Rudman, who won a silver medal in 2006, and Amy Williams, who had just won gold 2 years before. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I think I'm okay at this. So yeah, it was a nice little boost.
Question down here? We'll just wait for the microphone, and then we'll all be able to hear you.
Watching your sport, one seems to divide it into 2 phases. There's the run and sprint, and then there's the actual whizzing down and steering. Is the balance between those fair? One gets the impression that so much depends on the start.
Yeah, it is important. You won't really have a winning athlete without a good start, but you can have a good starting athlete that just doesn't know how to drive the sled. So I would say both are important. I don't have the information or the research to tell you the numbers. I should have bought the data analysis, Jen. But yeah, I think it's as British athletes, when we do the talent search, we make sure people can run quickly. So then that's a great starting point to then teach them how to do the sport. Yeah, we aim to be the best pushers in the world. So. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question right in the corner over there. Can we get a microphone across?
Having been a student at the same time of like training, how did you cope with the pressure of training as well as actually being in uni as well?
Yeah, it obviously was a massive challenge because although you have the lectures which you need to get to as a basic, you know, the more research and education you do, the better you're going to be in your degree. So then you're sort of having this balancing act of, but I need to go to the track or the gym, and should I be doing more work? So yeah, it's a flex. But I always thought that it gave me a kind of a fresh perspective and kept my body fresh and my mind healthy to get out and do exercise, even if it was just a couple of hours a day. Or I quite like going to the pool opposite the athletics track. It was like £2 in the morning for a student. So yeah, that's even before lectures, so it doesn't conflict with that. But I think the most important thing is to tell the lecturer, if you're taking sport seriously, is to involve the lecturer in your situation and just make them aware and get them to support you. Because there is no way that I would have completed my degree without the support of the lecturers here.
And we really like to know if you're not going to come to our lectures in advance, so that's really good. Okay. Yeah, question at the back here.
You mentioned earlier about your interest in sports psychology.
Would you mind starting that again, sorry?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about your interest in sports psychology.
Yes.
As an athlete, presumably you've been on the receiving end of sports psychology.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to know how that helped you or even hindered you.
Helped me a lot. So I think the best psychologists are the ones that you just have a chat with, a discussion with, and they're applying all these concepts or trying to help you get to a place you don't know that you're getting to. So one of my favourite theories is the bubble theory, where I put everything that is important or under my control within this bubble. So I'm at a race. What's important? My communication with my coach, Eric, and what's the other thing? My hydration, my food, you know, those basic things. Other things like the annoying competitors that are trying to distract me, or the weather, it's just started snowing, it's going crazy. I can't control them. I'm going to move them outside my vision, my concentration, and outside my bubble, and to just kind of visualise that's a protected space. And the more I used that and the more I developed, it became an even stronger bubble, an even stronger place of safety for me to compete within. So yeah, sports psychology is totally undervalued in elite sport, and there's no way I would have been successful without my psychologist help.
And the psychologist goes with you wherever you're on?
No, he doesn't. I tend to just Skype him once a week or have a chat, and I know him so well now.
So he's not standing at the start line?
No. It's not relevant. No. I don't think you necessarily have to be sport specific. You need to, I always had the understanding that if I didn't tell him everything or share everything, he will never be able to help me because he's only treating half the problem. Mm-hmm. So I think you tend to, I mean, I've been doing it 9 years, so he will know from the look of my face or the tone of my voice. It's a very bare sport, you know. I'm stood there in a very thin suit. Everything's on show, and it's just, you have to have a really good psychologist to help you. You can't underestimate that.
Okay, another question down here.
You talked about your relationship with your coach being in that.
Yeah.
Which is quite handy for this question. Looking into how coaches nurture intrinsic motivation within their athletes as juniors, like, do you feel as that's changed? You sound like your family was quite competitive anyway, but do you feel that the relationship with your coach has really kind of brought that out of your shell a bit more? Has it helped a bit more? And how has that relationship with your coach made you where you are now?
I've had many coaches over the 9 years. We have different coaches for different stages of development. And I think the most influential coach was my first, Woody. And he certainly challenged me and pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And said, I'm trying to build your mental toughness. He was ex-army, so that's the voice. And I got so annoyed with him, I did my dissertation on mental toughness just to prove him wrong, showing that he wasn't helping. But actually he was. So yeah, the relationship, of course, helps give you confidence and pushes you and challenges you. That's the growth mindset is very much like what I believe in. So yeah, the coaches are influential, but also to know when to step away and let the athlete grow themselves and self-coach and all that stuff as well. It's a tough one as a coach. You're like back in the middle.
Question over there.
Being an athlete on the girls' team in comparison to everyone else on the programme,
Ooh. How did you find the testing days? Hard.
And the microphone back.
Yeah.
So which sport are you?
I'm a sprint kayaker, but I've now...
That's the one on the water. I was trying to get it, but yeah. So you still do that now?
I've changed my discipline now. I'm now a rower on the World Class Start programme.
Nice.
So yeah, but no, the testing was hard, but enjoyable at the same time. You meet so many different people. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
well, I remember after the initial, so they did a couple of tests all around the country, and there were 1,500 females, and then 100 went through to the skeleton next stage. And we went to the University of Bath, and we did all this sprinting and stuff. And lots of the girls kind of took off their t-shirts, so they just had crop tops. They were athletics backgrounds, so they had their crop tops on, and they all had six-packs. And I was like, I don't have a six-pack. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to be very good. I'm not going to be very fast. I don't look like the right athlete. So I just thought, you know, all I can do is do the tests and hope that I'm within the numbers that they're looking for. And sure enough, I made it to the next 50. And those six-pack girls hadn't made it. So I was like, yeah. So yeah, I guess the standing out was just through being very focused and determined. But also there was the aspect of we did our first couple of days on the push track and supporting each other. I remember handing around some jelly babies and just kind of, you know, pepping everyone up and encouraging everyone, because there's an aspect that you're not there doing it by yourself. You learn from others and you help others. So I think that helped. I don't know.
That thing about image is interesting, because magazines are very keen on seeing female sports stars in particular, you know, all dressed up. Do you resist that? Have you done much of that, you know, posing in evening dresses and bikinis?
I'm not averse to a bit of makeup, I have to say, and I did do a hello shoot with Laura, the other athlete, and we arrived and they had, I kid you not, a dining table full of makeup, and I think it all went on my face. So the photo was very kind of trying to smile with the weight of the... so yeah, there certainly is an aspect, and it was really nice to kind of dress up and feel a bit, you know, glam. But when I go into schools now, I make sure I don't have makeup on, and I just present myself as I am normally day to day. And it is really tough, you know, even as an adult, I still struggle looking at social media thinking, how are they how are they doing this with it? Why do they look so good? You know, I don't look like that. So it's a really strange environment that anyone who, you know, is a teenager, you know, of course you think that you're meant to be like that, and it's a very difficult thing to understand that that's probably the 100th selfie they've taken, and it's been edited and it's been filtered. That's not real life.
Thank you. Time for a couple more questions.
No
One
questions,
more question
silly.
down at the front here.
Hello. It's just going to get you a mic.
We're running.
Something very light and frivolous.
Oh.
I am terrified of speed, and my natural reaction when I'm driving is to stop. How do you manage not to stop? I watch your foot sometimes when you're going down. I bet your toe hurts.
Yeah.
What is that overcomes that fear that I must need to stop?
Ooh.
To get through that barrier. I'm amazed. As somebody who 60 years ago threw a javelin outside here at college, I never aspired much further than that. So I'm full of admiration. But how do you stop? Get through that barrier?
Well, I'm glad to meet another javelin thrower. So I guess the joy of skeleton is that when I'm running my heart out at the start and I've leapt onto the sled, there isn't really a way for me to slow down. There's no brakes on the sled. There's nothing.
Put one on.
Yeah, you can't. Well, the thing is, you need to love, in the sport that I do, you need to love to embrace the speed, because the faster you go down the course, the easier you can actually get around the corners and manage things. So there is an element of just learning to just let go and relax. You know, I run as quickly as I can, really, you know, stiff and tense, and I jump on, and I had to do a bit of a pancake and just relax into the sled and just tell myself, you know, it's going to be fine. I've got this. You have got this under control. You can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got
and long may you keep going fast.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you so much. One really quick one. We've got your medals here. They're extraordinary. I picked one up earlier on. It's very heavy, isn't it? I just have to ask, When you first won, particularly the Sochi one, the first one,
yeah.
Did you sit at home with it round your neck? Stand in front of the mirror?
Well, it's got a really long fabric, like ribbon, on the Sochi one. So when I won it, we were only halfway through the Olympics, and they tell you not to leave your things in rooms, you know, take everything important with you. So I was like, well, what do I do with it? I need to go to breakfast. So I would wear it underneath my T-shirt and walk along with my tray, and people would see this really heavy medal, like, are you wearing it again? So, yeah, I guess I just kind of wore it, and I love to show kids and just pass it around, really.
You described it as Frodo's ring in one of the pieces.
I do. And it's, I anti-back it quite a lot as well, because I think, yeah, David Henry said something lovely. He won a medal in hurdling in the 80s. He said he wants the gold to be rubbed off of it because he's shown so many people. So that's what I'm aiming for. So yeah, they are beautiful, but it's very much just a representation that I am a normal person. You know, I grew up here and I can get gold medals. There's absolutely no reason why, you know, you love a sport, you pursue it, and you can't win gold medals too. And if you do, you have to come back and show me.
Lizzy, thank you very much indeed. We've run out of time. Huge thanks to Lizzy. Let's give her a final round of applause. Thanks so much for everybody coming and joining us. Thanks to all of you at home, because we have been live streaming via Facebook and YouTube Live. Thank you to all of our media school students who've been helping with the broadcast. And in case you're geeky and like these sorts of things, we've been filming this in 360-degree vision. So if you want to go onto our website later on and watch it in immersive reality, you may do that. So, from all of us here, thank you very much for coming, and have a safe drive home. Bye-bye.
Thank you.